What is up? Welcome back to PFF Draft Podcast 5.0 here. You guys may be wondering why it's been a 2-week hiatus here for us, and someone's computer fell asleep in the middle of, I'm not going to name names, in the middle of our recording last week, and so our software to record also fell asleep, so we went through combine position by position rankings, so if you really want those, you're going to have to get a time machine because...
It was a good podcast.
I know, it was great. It was a great conversation that we had. I'm sorry that you guys missed it, but we'll recap some combines still here today. We're not going to go through full position by position because, well, we already did that. But
nobody heard it, Mike. Nobody heard the greatness that we pulled.
I know we had I had some great takes. I mean, per usual, but... All right, let's get right into it, though. Combine, biggest winners, biggest losers. Just get a little overview here. Who's your top 5 biggest winners, Steve? I'll start with mine, actually, because I
just want to hear yours. Yours are the only ones that really matter. So
number 1, Jordan Willis. I thought he absolutely made himself some money, especially the fact that he had the best 3-cone of anyone in the defensive line group, 6.85 seconds. Had one of the top 10 times of all time. It was 1.53, I believe. That's ridiculous burst off the line of scrimmage. I mean, he's pushed himself into a first-round lock at this point, I think.
A lock.
A first-round lock.
I feel like you're locking guys into the first round every week now.
Yeah, I am. And
I got to start writing these down. We got Jordan Willis now?
Jordan Willis, definitely a lock. I have another lock later in my top 5. Actually, I have 2 more locks coming up here in the top 5. So.
Really?
Yeah. So it's
filling up fast over in the top 32 now.
I'll go right next to number 2 is Obi Melifonwu. Pushed himself into a first-round lock as well. You don't put up the second farthest broad jump of all time.
At 6'4", 223.
At 6'4", 224. Steve,
224,
right.
Sorry.
That's what he weighed in at. 4'4", 40, 44-inch vertical jump. Maybe the most explosive human being currently walking the planet Earth. Is that an overstatement?
It's probably an overstatement, yeah.
I mean, he's at 224
He's up there,
pounds.
though. I mean, We're talking people looking for that Cam Chancellor type of clone. You know, he's that guy, the same size. You know, he's pretty good on the field, too. Mm-hmm. But as far as all these measurables go, very, very impressive.
Again, first-round lock at this point.
First-round lock, okay.
On to number 3, a guy who made himself, I think, pushed himself up a lot of draft boards. That's Kevin King, the cornerback from Washington. Had the fastest 3-cone of anyone at the Combine, 6.56 seconds. Had the fastest short shuttle of anyone at the Combine, 3.89 seconds. And, he's 6'3", 200 pounds at cornerback with 32-inch arms. I mean...
That's impressive. And to be at the top of the change of direction type of drills
yeah.
And being at 6'3". Let me just add another name though, 6'2", Akello Witherspoon, who was up there in all of those drills. He wasn't Kevin King, but Witherspoon was outstanding as well. So he was I'm just throwing one of my winners in there. There's a lot of crossover in our top 5s, but Witherspoon was great too. So we're talking about 2 long Pac-12 corners that really showed well. Yeah,
Witherspoon, 4'4", 540, 40-plus inch vertical, 6.93 cone, and 4'13" shuttle, all at, 6'3", 198, 33-inch arms.
And he was excellent on the field last year,
Teams covet that sort of... There are certain schemes that will covet that sort of length, and be very high in them compared to others. All right, on to the guy who broke the Combine 40 record, John Ross, 4'22". I mean... just crazy explosive. And some team, I'm saying it right now, some team's going to fall in love with that speed.
And take
top
him.
10, maybe top 12, and he might be the first receiver off the board at this point.
Oh, man, I think that'd be a mistake. I like John Ross, but I wouldn't put him over Mike Williams or Corey Davis at this point.
We see it every year. Teams just absolutely fall in love with speed.
They do.
The fact that Darius Hayward-Bay, I guess L. Davis isn't around anymore, but the fact that Darius Hayward-Bay was the top 10 pick back in the day.
That was ridiculous. I'd more look
John Ross is far better tape than Hayward-Bay.
I'd look at the last couple of years and say Will Fuller last year. I think that was a bit of a stretch. I think Philip Dorsett 2 years ago in Indianapolis. So I think both of those guys were more second or third round type of value that went in the first. Ross is a better player than both of them, I think. Better deep threat and better in the short game.
Yeah, much better after the catch. I think he had 18 broken tackles this past season. It's far more than Fuller had.
Shifty at the line of scrimmage. He does a lot of good stuff.
He's not a guy who goes down on first contact if you get a piece of him. Will Fuller, basically, he had to make you whiff completely to make you miss because he's so undersized that he would go down in first contact. But John Ross, 188 pounds, 5'11", that's pretty solidly built for a wide receiver. It's not, big, but it's not so far below average that you're going to be worried about him getting injured year after year.
I think the Deshaun Jackson comparisons are fair. But as my friend Josh Norris, who we seem to mention on every single podcast, as he says, don't count it twice.
I love with Josh.
Yeah, that's a good buddy. Good buddy, that Josh Norris. Look, he says don't count it twice. We came in thinking that John Ross was fast, seeing that he played fast on the field just because he ran a 4.22 40. Now that does, turns heads and all that stuff, but it's not really surprising. It's kind of expected because you see it on tape. It shows up.
There is a difference, though, between a 4.22 and a 4.32, and it's a tenth of a second. And I think there's a difference between...
Let me check your math on that right now. Hold on. 4.32 minus what?
But 4.22.
Okay. Yeah, you're right.
That right?
You're
okay.
right. 0.1 seconds.
But when you compare that then to a 4.42, which is still fast, that's 0.2 of a second. And a 4.42 versus a 4.62 is the difference between fast and slow.
It's like 0.4 of a second.
So if the difference between fast and slow is 0.2 of a second, he's ultra fast. I'm not sure the point I'm getting to here. But
that's like when you say it's 0 degrees out, which is really cold. But if it was 25 below, that's like the difference between it being 75 out and 100 out, right? Is that the point? Weather-wise, everybody got that analogy? Weather-wise? Let's move on. Who else won the Combine? Is that it?
Nope, one more. And I think it's Christian McCaffrey putting up the second best three-cone of any running back, 6.57 seconds. Utterly ridiculous. 4.48 40, fairly good as well. And the fact that, I haven't mentioned on-field drills for anyone else, but the fact that he looked far and away the best in the receiving drills at the running back position, and the fact that he looked like he could have legitimately been a wide receiver going through those drills, that had to help him as well.
Yeah, that's the point I've been making. I think as a wide receiver prospect, he's a second or third round type of guy. If he was just a slot receiver, you add in the fact that he can run the ball. He can run the ball in multiple schemes. I think he's a perfect fit for a team that likes to spread it out for the run game, run power, run zone, and then use him as a matchup weapon. I think he just showed everything that he showed on the field as a player he showed in Indianapolis, both in the drills and in the workouts. That 6.57, great number. Very, very impressive number. That's the change of direction that we're talking about.
And I'm going to do it again. First round lock at this point.
And there's another first round lock. So we've got, how many are you locking into the first round? There's only 32 picks.
I was going to say,
round.
No, this draft is so loaded that there's going to be 40 first rounders.
40 first round picks. Is that your hot take of the week?
No, it's not.
This is a 40 first round type of draft.
I'll get to my hot take of the week after we go to the bottom five. The guys who moved down the board the most. And we're going to stay at the running back position. I think Dalvin Cook cost himself some money here.
Don't forget the most obvious one here. The guy that didn't work out. Can we just start with him?
We can start with him. Yeah.
Reuben Foster gets sent home from Indianapolis, and it was supposedly an incident where he's arguing with medical staff or something in Indianapolis. But even other than that,
somebody you shouldn't be arguing with, basically.
Right,
you shouldn't be arguing with anyone.
He had a poor week, and it was not just that incident that was isolated. All the rumblings that we had heard about his meetings with teams were just bad. Bad meetings with teams. And you don't hear a lot of just cut and dry that a guy was bad in a meeting situation, but that's what we were hearing about Foster. So that's rough. That hits me home for a guy. I love this guy on the field.
He's great on the field.
That hits me home. So I like Foster quite a bit as a player, but that is definitely going to make him take a hit.
Here's the thing, though. Foster shows up and runs a 4.8 40. I think his draft stock goes farther down than...
Yeah, maybe.
Berating a... hospital.
I don't think that honestly, the berating anyone is probably not the worst thing from a stock standpoint. I'm not saying it's excusable. From a draft stock standpoint, it's those individual team meetings. If you're really bad in those individual team meetings, that's rough. And I think if I was hearing about it, I know the league was hearing about it. So that's, I think, probably going to hurt him as much, if not more, than the fact that he got sent home. And your point about the on-field performance, if he had struggled on the field, then that's even worse. But he's a good athlete. He's a good player. We'll see what that ends up doing to his
I'd still take him top 10. I'm a fan. I think he's
you don't have to coach him.
Game changer. Yeah, I don't. I'm glad. All right. So then the next guy who actually his on-field performance may have been pushing him down some boards, and that's Dalvin Cook, who ran a 4.49 40, which, that'd be good for any other running back, but we thought, you said in our preview podcast for the Combine of what we were going to run.
That wasn't sub 4.4?
You said sub 4.4.
That's what he looks like, though.
And he does, yeah.
So this is one where I think in real life he gets knocked a little bit. And maybe I knocked him a little bit in my mock draft. That's my own fault.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it should have. His speed shows up on the field. And this is like the opposite of John Ross, where it's like John Ross confirmed that he was fast. Dalvin Cook, I don't care. He's still fast. I saw it on the field. He gets to the edge like no other running back in this class. He maintains his speed to the edge. Just has a good feel. I just think he's still this outstanding big play type of threat, despite what he ran.
And then 7.273 cone, which that's below average for running.
Not great.
It doesn't show. I feel like he has the ability to stop on a dime, but that's not showing that.
My excuse for Dalvin, I think where he's special is getting the ball in his hands and getting to top speed as quickly as possible. And maybe it's because they're working out of a track stance here, and that doesn't show up as well versus, taking a handoff. But I think he just gets to top speed extremely quickly. And if he struggled with his starts out of a track stance, that could explain some of it. I'm making excuses for Dalvin because he's still a big play threat no matter what those numbers say.
But I have to believe he's moving down some boards.
He is. He absolutely is.
Next guy on my list, Jonathan Allen. Just a below average athlete for a defensive tackle. And you look at the history of defensive tackles going top 5, going top 10, they're all plus athletes for the position. Yeah. I think teams want that checkbox for a guy who is also somewhat of a tweener at the moment at 286 pounds.
Right.
Not a pure, defensive tackle that you can move all over your formation. So I wouldn't be surprised if he drops into the teens at this point.
The teens, man, somebody's going to get a really good.
And then he's got the shoulder issues, shoulder issues on D-line, you kind of need those.
I think that's a bigger issue, the fact that there's an injury history more than the fact that he tested out as an average athlete. I do understand from a team's perspective, if you want to take a guy top 5, top 10, you do want him to tick all those boxes, and it'd be great if he had great athleticism numbers that showed up on tape. But look, on tape, he had the Superman sack where he shed a block, jumped over the running back. I mean, he shows athleticism to win, play-by-play in the NFL.
No,
that's more important.
I think he's a very good example of why the combine, those 8 drills or whatever they are, can't perfectly measure athleticism.
Right.
Because there are other things. There's coordination that goes into athleticism. There's balance. There's other things that just don't necessarily get tested in Indianapolis that Jonathan Allen has in spades.
Right.
That a lot of defensive linemen don't have, even if a lot of defensive linemen tested better than Allen this week.
I also think that he wins in a way. He wins with his hands. He wins with power and strength. He's not a guy that's going to shoot gaps a whole lot and use that athleticism. He's actually a guy that's more, let's engage and then I'll shed you with my strength and with my technique. So I don't think it affects the way he wins on the football field.
Yeah, I don't think the combine also does a great job of measuring core strength, shoulder strength, that sort of stuff. Even if you do bench reps, that's not a great translator to on the field. So, and I think he also has those sort of traits as well. So, yeah, he's moving down. But like you said, the shoulder issues might also be a bigger reason to why he moves down in the draft.
Yeah, that would give me the concern if he's got chronic shoulders.
Next guy on the list, cornerback Teez Tabor, a guy who we've had at times neck and neck with Marshawn Lattimore. Some people have him as their number 1 corner, but 4'6", 240, 31-inch vertical.
Everything was bad.
9 reps on the bench. It's just and 6 foot tall. I mean, that checks a box, but it's not so. He's not overly lengthy. So 4'6", 240 is. That's getting into worrisome territory.
I think it's
you don't have other traits to make up for it.
Very worrisome. On the field, I love Tabor. I think he's a playmaker. The playmaker index that we created, which was pass breakups plus interceptions, he was one of the best in the class. Pass breakups plus interceptions divided by targets. Loved that by Tabor. That's a great stat you can find on PFF Draft Pass, by the way. Oh,
yes.
Just live this week.
Which, 1.0, Draft Pass 1.0 is up. I know we've pushed it, and I felt a little bad about pushing it because it was kind of barren for a little bit, but
it's there, man.
The profiles are up. The profiles are up and rolling. They have some nice graphics there for you, graphical representations of players and stuff like that. So make sure to check out Draft Pass, profootballfocus.com/draftpass17. 1.0 is up.
1.0 is up. So when I click on my Tabor profile, I can go check out not only his signature stats that have been hidden from the public forever, his grades for all 3 years, which actually went down. I'm seeing he went down here in 2016. Pretty easy bar graph to see it and see that representation. He peaked more as a sophomore. We see his 3-year
Did a good
stats.
pass rushing grade, though.
Did a good pass rush grade. That went way up. But in our beautiful little spider chart, the playmaker index, he was outstanding. He was really good. He was one of the best in the class. So anyway, my point on Tabor, the speed thing is a big issue at corner because you don't want to get beat deep. And he's a guy, the one thing I'm scared about him, I feel like he guesses quite a bit. And that's why I'm calling him that playmaker. Yeah. So are they educated guesses or are they just lucky guesses?
Yeah.
Is he freelancing? Because I see a lot of Aqib Talib in him from a playmaking standpoint, but the speed absolutely scares me. That was not a good combine for Tees.
All right, up next we have actually 2 edge prospects that I wanted to mention. The first, Tack McKinley, 4.59 40, looks great. I mean, he's got that straight line explosiveness.
He's a straight line guy, yeah.
But the fact that he only weighed in at 250 when people thought he'd be about 10 to 15 pounds bigger, and the fact that his 3-cone was 7.48 seconds, which is absolutely atrocious for the position, and his short shuttle was 4.62 seconds. Both of those are more like interior linemen than edge guys. Those are very bad times at those drills, which are basically the change of direction. Those are very important to edge prospects, probably more so than any other position.
Yeah, I agree. And I think with Tack, he's always been a good player. He's gotten better every year at UCLA. But I saw that straight line burst type of athlete too. I think I saw that on tape.
Yeah.
So I think there's still value there. But when you're that low and some of those turn the corner type of numbers, it's absolutely a concern.
I went back and looked through guys with those sort of poor shuttle, shuttle and 3-cone in similar ranges. You can be a little better than him. I set the cutoff at 7.3 seconds on the cone, 4.5 seconds and up on the shuttle.
What'd you find?
The only guy who's been successful, Olivier Vernon. And even him, it took him a while to hit to that peak.
Interesting.
Guys like Quentin Copels, some other names that are escaping me off the top of my head. Some high-round picks were in that range.
Copels was never really that bendy, turn-the-corner type of edge anyway. They tried to make him that, but he was that classic base defensive end.
A lot of guys been drafted with those sort of times in the cone and the shuttle. Not a lot of success in that.
Interesting.
So that's worrisome to me. I'll just say I'm probably dropping him out of the first round, in my opinion. Might still go in the first round when all said and done.
Our most recent board has him about 36. And that's the number 10 edge on our board at the moment. And that's, it's still fluid. We're still getting some of these profiles in, and I could see him dropping a little bit for various reasons.
And the other edge that did not have himself a day whatsoever, Charles Harris. This one was a head scratcher for me because it just doesn't look like Charles Harris. 4.8 240, 7.473 cone, and a 4.42 shuttle. That's when
he's
I
a
see
good-looking
Charles
player
Harris,
on the field, man. He can make plays.
I see a guy who has that sort of agility on the edge to counter inside, has the sort of burst to press the edge, but that just did not show up whatsoever.
The combine can't measure spin moves, and that's where he shines. He has the best spin move in the class, Charles Harris. So that you can't take that away from him. I don't care what the numbers say. Charles Harris can spin.
I will say this: Marcus Golden, his former teammate, Arizona Cardinals, had worse numbers coming out. He was another guy who I thought, had some bursts off the line of scrimmage, has a little juice, did not show it at all, ran a 4.9 40 at the combine, had a 4.57 shuttle.
He's been extremely productive for the Cardinals.
7.38 cone, and he had 12.5 sacks last year. So
he was also one of our top-graded edge defenders in 2014 in our college data.
Not a death knell, but not good for Charles Harris. That's our biggest movers, up and down. And that brings me into my hot take, which I actually said a week ago, but it's such a good hot take that I need it to be heard.
I can't believe you've kept it since then. I didn't talk you out of it in the week.
It's that I wish the combine did not exist.
Wow. Just didn't exist.
Didn't exist because it changes, it adds bias into your evaluation of players. You can't separate those numbers from what the guy actually is on the field, from the game tape that you've watched. It has an effect on your thought process when it really shouldn't. I should, be measuring a guy's burst off the line of scrimmage when he's in pads. I should be measuring, how long it takes a cornerback to flip his hips and get 20 yards down the field on a go route.
This sounds like a personal issue.
It makes me a lazy analyst in that sense that I just rely on those numbers to dictate how I feel about a guy's athleticism when it really doesn't always translate to the field. Those numbers.
I think you pick your spots there. It's not the worst take in the world. I get it. I understand why you're saying it. Mm-hmm. So if your point is we should collect more data when we're watching these guys, calculate the burst.
It's a lazy data collection Yeah.
I understand what you're saying. I think we should do...
Alternative.
Yeah, I think you need to do more. I think you got to get all the film work in ahead of time and get your opinion and kind of predict. Based off what I've seen, here's what I think he'll run. But if it doesn't match up, I think it's okay to question yourself a little bit and question some of those things. Look, I think the biggest thing about the Combine is it's uniform year to year. It's a uniform measure of players. And then it's important to be able to go back. Like what you just did is you said, here's what Tack McKinley ran. Let me go back through history and look at similar guys.
Yeah.
There's Quentin Copels. Here's this guy. Here's that guy. That doesn't bode well. Doesn't mean that Tack McKinley has no shot. It just kind of changes the odds a little bit. I think that's how you use the Combine. When you're talking about, that full evaluation of a player, it's best to have your thoughts on a guy before the Combine happens. But I get it. I understand what you're saying.
Take stance.
That's a little too hot, though. We're going to keep the Combine.
Yeah, I don't think I have that kind of sway just yet.
It's becoming a money-making venture for the NFL, so it's sticking around.
All right, moving on from Combine talk. That's a good wrap of the Combine. Let's not talk about it ever again, like I said. And on to Steve's mock draft 5.0. Getting right in line with Draft Pod 5.0, which...
That's why we skipped last week.
Yeah.
That's why.
That's the real reason. But... how did free agency, this is a post-free agency mock because, like I said, I declared free agency over earlier this week on our podcast. It's over. There are no more free agents left for you to sign, and we're a week after.
You just looking for a day off? Couple days off?
But, so how did free agency change? What teams, Steve, were you kind of, I guess, what changed your opinion on certain teams where players would be slotted?
So I think at the top of the draft, the one team that I usually don't get too caught up in team needs, affecting the draft. I think you do need to fit the puzzle, though. So when I look at, say, the Jaguars at the top, I had given them Jonathan Allen quite a bit, quite often in previous mocks. And even though he wasn't available there in this particular mock, I think because the Jaguars signed Calais Campbell, because they already have Malik Jackson, I think they just have a bunch of these similar guys that could play base defensive end, can rush the passer from the interior. So Jonathan Allen just felt like he was extremely redundant to those guys that they had on the roster.
To be fair, Calais Campbell felt redundant as well, but...
Calais Campbell did also feel redundant. Yes, he did. But you can never have too many...
Three techniques.
Well, maybe you
3,
can.
4,
maybe you
5.
Can. But we'll see. Look, I don't mind adding Calais. He's a big-time talent. They had a lot of money to spend. Yeah. Why not? I get it. But I'm not going to triple down and go grab Jonathan Allen as well. Now, on the other hand, you look at the Bears at number 3. I had been giving them Mitchell Trubisky. Now, in this particular instance...
No, wait.
I went
you
crazy.
Been giving them Mitch Trubisky.
I had been giving them Mitch Trubisky. Now it's Mitchell Trubisky.
Mitchell, yeah.
Now it's Mitchell. And I don't think he's a good fit for the Bears as Mitchell. That can't be my franchise guy.
That's
if it's
not a
Mitch,
franchise name.
If it's Mitch, we can work with him. No, do you think he listened to the podcast and said I need to change my name to try to go higher? Do you think he listened to you?
No, do you think he didn't want it to rhyme with bitch? Like, that'd be an easy rhyming.
You think you
would catch a lot of flack.
So you can envision this whole, like, he gets drafted by the Bears, he has a rough first year, and they start calling him, they're like, bitch Trubisky.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's the worst. So you think that's what it is?
I think, like, why else would you? I mean, it's not such an exotic name, Mitchell, that it's gonna change my name scale. You're not gonna move the needle on my name scale with Mitchell, with adding the L.
That's dropping. Your name scale is, let's be weird and let's move up.
Yes.
But I think in the franchise quarterback name scale, that is a huge detriment. Like, how do you take this guy top 10 as Mitchell Trubisky?
I don't know, but you did in your mock, so we'll get right into that.
I did.
You predicted a trade, bold. You have the Jets moving up from 6 to take the 49ers pick.
49ers hated this trade. They're fans. They were calling me out on it. I don't know why.
And then the Jets taking Mitchell Trubisky. Talk to me about it, Steve.
So here's where I am. The 49ers are sitting there at 2, and I think everybody who's doing mock drafts cannot figure out what to do at 2. Uh-huh. I don't think there's a quarterback to just love at 2 for the 49ers. Mm-hmm. Of course, I picked a quarterback at 2, but I'm saying for the 49ers, their scheme, their system, their situation, and their situation is this. Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch, they're there for life. They're there for a 6-year contract. That's like a life in the NFL. They do not have to just pick a quarterback just because they need one. So I think they have some leeway there. So now it's, okay, who are the best position players on the board? Maybe it's Jonathan Allen. Well, we talked about the redundancy of position. You have Jonathan Allen. Already on the roster is DeForest Buckner, last year's first rounder. Eric Armstead, 2 years ago, first rounder. They're all the same type of player. So I don't think Jonathan Allen's the guy. So then it's, is it Derek Barnett from Tennessee? Is it Marshawn Lattimore from Ohio State? Is it Malik Hooker? I think the Niners are in a great position to trade down, still get a very good talent. And then I was the Jets. I'm the GM of all these teams, so I can pull these moves.
Yeah.
I'm the Jets, and I think the Bears might want to take Mr. Mitchell Trubisky, so I'm going to leapfrog them, and I'm going to go get him. So that's what I did. I had the Jets come up from 6-2. I had the Niners move back. They basically exchanged. The Niners got the Jets' second-round pick, which is number 39 overall, which is extremely valuable. Mm-hmm. And I think the 49ers now can get, say, they get Derek Barnett at 6, and then they can come back and maybe get Gary Conley from Ohio State at corner, or just another good player to just add to the mix. I think it would be a great trade.
Yeah, I think the 49ers would be ecstatic to get out of that number 2 spot if they don't have a quarterback.
If they don't have a quarterback, they would love to trade down.
Yes. All right, so we'll go through every pick. Not going to talk extensively, though. Number 1, obviously, Myles Garrett to the Cleveland Browns. 2, we just mentioned. 3, you moved Jonathan Allen up a bit, giving him to the Chicago Bears. Good fit there.
I like
and
the
then
fit.
4, switched it up on us.
Crazy. I went crazy here.
Jacksonville Jaguars picking Deshaun Watson.
Yes.
You're coming around on him, even despite the fact that Zach Robinson wanted to call him a backup quarterback in our profiles.
No, Zach's come around on him.
Has he?
Zach's seen the off-field for Watson. He's seen the way he operates and the way he works, and I think that's the biggest issue with Watson from an evaluation standpoint. On fields, there are 2 tangible things that look extremely risky, and that's his pocket presence and his ability to work through multiple progressions and reads. But then you see the way he works in the off-field and the way he makes comebacks on the field.
Yeah,
there's a lot to like about him as well. I just look at the Jaguars and look, they haven't won a lot of games in recent years, but when you look up and down the roster, they've added a ton of talent there the last couple of years. So there's no clean player for them to draft either. I just said, look, they're heading into year 4 of Blake Bortles. Last year was terrible. I'm going to hedge my bets. I'm going to hedge my bet and bring in Deshaun Watson and have him compete and then see what happens. So that's what I did as GM of the Jaguars.
And that is the thing. I think even if I do, it's not crazy. And I will say, even if Blake Bortles doesn't, take a next step, even if he is bad again this year, I think the roster itself is improved enough that you're not going to be picking top 5 next year, I don't think, if you're Jacksonville.
Right.
So you're not going to be getting a franchise guy, even if one does come around, even if 2 come around next year. You're going to have to, sell the farm to trade up to get one if there is. So, yeah, I don't disagree with taking one top 5 if you're Jacksonville at this point, because I never disagree with taking quarterbacks because they're so much more valuable than any other position in terms of trade-wise, in terms of value-wise, in terms of what they do for your franchise. So if they like them,
every mock drafter right now is struggling with what to do with Jacksonville as well, because they've invested so heavily in the secondary, and there's a lot of good players in the secondary in the draft. They've invested so much on the defensive line, and there's a lot of good edge defenders. So that's why you're seeing guys like Todd McShay put O.J. Howard up there, and people are putting Dalvin Cook or Leonard Fournette up there. But then I don't want to take a tight end that high. I know you don't want to. I don't want to take a running back that high.
Yeah.
Why not take my backup quarterback, Deshaun Watson?
All right, number 5, Tennessee Titans. We have them taking Marshawn Lattimore, the cornerback from Ohio State. Number 1 corner on our board. Next up, 49ers at number 6 get Derek Barnett, the guy who we're high on, who probably won't actually go there.
He'll go lower than that, but he's unbelievable production. I think it'll translate.
Talented player. Number 7, you guys already know, Los Angeles Chargers taking Malik Hooker.
Every mock
it won't
from
change
now until forever.
Yeah. And then here's the 2 I want to talk about. Number 8, Carolina Panthers picking Mike Williams, and then number 9, Bengals picking Corey Davis, which I'll say that I have them switched in my overall rankings. I have Davis ahead of Williams, but if I'm the Panthers, I'd probably have Williams ahead of Davis just in terms of schematically what I do with my offense.
That's why I did it.
I like that guy.
That's why I did it, Mike.
No, I agree with it.
I want the big, huge receiver so that Cam Newton can't overthrow him. We need another big, huge receiver for Cam.
But does Carolina losing Ted Ginn fall in love with John Ross? That's the question I wanted to pose.
Well, it's a fair question.
Would that be more of a weapon in that offense than Mike Williams?
Maybe.
Another possession guy along the Kelvin Benjamin.
Yeah, you've got Kelvin Benjamin. You have Devin Funchess. You already have those big, huge receivers. Do you add the John Ross component, a deep threat who can actually catch the ball instead of Ted Ginn?
Yes.
It's not a bad thought.
Giddens probably cost Cam Newton 4 to 5 touchdowns over the past couple of years.
But he caught a lot in 2000.
But he did catch a lot.
He made up for it.
But I think 4 to 5, just take away 3 of those drops, 3 more TDs. I think that would help more.
Yeah, I don't hate it. Maybe there's some redundancy there. It looks like the Jaguars of the mid 2000s when they had Matt Jones, Reggie Williams, and Ernest Wilford. They were all 6'4 plus.
Yeah.
So that would be Kelvin Benjamin, Devin Funchess, and Mike Williams. I don't mind it, but I don't want to take Ross that high.
They look great getting off the bus, but
they were very slow.
But yeah.
Big and slow.
All right, so yeah, in my mock, I'll have John Ross there instead of Mike Williams.
I can't wait until your mock comes out on the napkin that we can all read at the bar.
I'll tweet out the napkin. All right, and then Corey Davis. I think the Bengals, Corey Davis. I'd love to. That's probably another Malik Hooker.
That's a great fit.
Yeah.
It's such a good fit.
It's such a good fit.
I love him opposite AJ Green. That shifty route running. I think he's a perfect complement.
Yes. Number 10, you still have Tease Tabor in the top 10 going to the Buffalo Bills. He's not moving down your board, I see, with that poor combine performance.
26.5% of his targets. He got his hands on him. He's a playmaker.
That's a lot.
They lose Stephon Gilmore. I like Tease. When's Pro Day? Make up for it, Tease.
Have a day, Tease.
Make up for it.
It still worries him. 4.62 is not. It's just not makeup.
He'll probably drop next time around.
Yeah.
It was too quick for me to completely take it all in.
It's so much to take in.
Yes.
All right, 11, New Orleans, Reuben Foster. I wouldn't move him down. I'll be honest. I don't give a damn what he did at the combine. That didn't move him down my board.
Especially as bad as the Saints linebackers have been.
If the Saints pass on him and he's there, you're crazy.
He would be awesome there.
All right, number 12, Cleveland Browns, Jamal Adams. Love that. I think they'd be ecstatic to get him
if they got Myles Garrett and Jamal Adams,
that defense,
that'd be beautiful.
That'd be 2 cornerstones.
Figure out QB next, but man, that'd be nice.
13, Arizona Cardinals, Tre'Davious White, the cornerback from LSU.
I kept putting Sidney Jones in here, and he screwed it up by getting hurt.
We'll get to that later. Number 14, the Eagles, Solomon Thomas, which I'll say this, you have 15 Indianapolis Colts taking Tim Williams, and you put them both ahead of Carl Lawson, who you have at number 16 to the Baltimore Ravens, and I'll just say I think you're wrong. I think Carl Lawson.
You like Carl Lawson better than both of them?
I will say I think Solomon Thomas actually is a 3-tech in the next level. I don't think he's going to play on the edge, or I don't want him really playing on the edge. I think
early down.
Tell him to gain. Did he struggle with double teams in college? Because I don't think he did.
Every now and again, but not really. He had a pretty good feel for double teams.
So I get that he's 272. I get that he's not the size you normally want a 3-tech to be. But if he doesn't struggle against the run, that's really all you're worried about at that size.
So you want to bulk him up just a little bit, play him at 3-tech.
10 or so pounds. I mean, when Justin Smith came out, he was 260 something. And by the end of his career,
was like 20 years ago.
But I'm saying by the end of his career, he was in the 290s playing inside every down.
Yeah, but he had cowboy man strength.
Solomon Thomas is pretty much an ox as well. So
Thomas is awesome. He's a great player.
I'll say I think they are just different positions, Solomon Thomas and
I'm scared. What is he as a pass rusher? Is he an elite pass rusher? I think he's unbelievable against the run. He was our college football run defender of the year.
We had this conversation about the Khalil Mack effect. He has the traits. He wins against the run in a way such that
if you can win blocks in the run game and you're athletic enough,
yes,
we've seen a lot of guys in the past progress as pass rushers.
Yes,
you might be talking me into finally getting him into the top 10.
He's a good player. I'm a fan. But yeah, Carl Lawson to the Ravens. I think they would be ecstatic to have him at 16. It would be a great fit.
Now, Carl has questions against the run, but I think at the very least he steps in and he's a solid.
He replaces
designated
Elvis
pass rusher.
Dumervil immediately. Yes. 17, Dalvin Cook to the Redskins. Like that fit. We'll talk about number 18 here, John Ross to the Tennessee Titans.
John Ross hour here.
Do you think he lasts to 18? I'll just say that. I'll just say in the actual draft, do you think he lasts this long?
No, I think if a team took Philip Dorsett in the back end of the first and they took Fuller in the back end of the second, I could see a team taking Ross within the first 15 picks.
I think so too. All right, 19, Leonard Fournette to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You know I hate that pick.
You hate Fournette in general.
Don't think he's a first round. Not a guy.
A gap scheme though there.
And they already.
Where's he for a gap scheme? I think Doug Martin's on his way out. I think they're ready to release him. There's no dead money if they release him. He was banged up. I think they're ready to move on. Get another running back to build around.
20, Denver Broncos taking Ryan Ramczyk. Perfect fit.
Another good fit that's kind of locked in.
Lock that one in. Broncos fans, no need to check back for any more mocks. 21,
sorry guys.
Detroit Lions. Charles Harris. the guys I said that moved down on boards, you didn't actually move down.
Well, those were the hypothetical
boards.
NFL boards, not necessarily my board.
So
because unlike you, I could separate the combine from what we saw on film, and I don't need to have a knee-jerk reaction.
No, that's a lie.
It's a little bit of a lie, but I don't knee-jerk react to everything.
I think so. I'll say this. I think he's still going to be good in the NFL. Very much like, that's why I brought up Marcus Golden. I still think he does move down my board a little bit because I can't separate the combine, like I said.
Where's your board? Where does this thing live?
It's all up here, Steve.
It's all up in your head?
In my head, guys.
That's bad content,
yeah.
by the way.
I still think he's going to be good. I'm not going to take him 21st overall.
Okay.
Is all I'll say.
I can't wait for your mock to come out of your brain.
22, Miami Dolphins taking Taco Charlton, the edge class.
It's a good fit, right?
Ridiculous. Yeah, that'd be nice fit. Across from every down type of guy across.
Need some youth on that D-line.
Yeah. I agree there. 23, New York Giants, O.J. Howard, another guy. Does he realistically last this long?
No, I think because there are some questions at the top, there's not a lot of offensive players that are just clear top of the draft type of guys. So do you get a team, that just says we need a playmaker, we're gonna grab our tight end in the top 15? I could see it. I don't know if I'd take him that high. But could you imagine this Giants offense with Odell Beckham, Brandon Marshall, Sterling Shepard, who we love and is just a perfect slot in number 3, and then O.J. Howard? That is
it'd be great
putting Eli in position.
I was gonna say, if Eli wasn't washed up.
Eli looked terrible last year, but man, if he could, if he has those playmakers, at least statistically, I think he'll be okay.
I agree. I would love for them to add some even more talent on offense. Just put as much there as you can. Just overwhelm defenses. You would have nowhere to turn if you had that many playmakers as a defensive coordinator. So like that fit. Don't think he'll last that long, but they could go Njoku maybe if
could go Njoku.
Howard's not there.
I just love the idea of adding that playmaking tight end to that offense right now. That's built.
All right, 24, Oakland Raiders getting a linebacker, Zach Cunningham from Vanderbilt. We're both fans of him.
Build through the middle.
25, Houston Texans, Pat Mahomes. I'm going to say it, Steve. This is not going to happen because the Houston Texans are going all in this year. They are not going to waste a first-round pick on a quarterback who's a developmental prospect. If they don't sign, they made the most win-now trade of all time, dealing away a quarterback and a second-rounder for nothing.
That wasn't win now.
How was that not win now?
That was get out of a bad contract.
I mean, they could have gotten out of the bad contract by cutting Brock Osweiler and still had a second-round pick next year. I mean, it hurts your cap this year. That's the whole thing. They're doing it because they don't want the cap to be hurt this year. They're mortgaging some future by giving up a second rounder.
That's a terrible way to build a team, I have to say.
Oh, it is. I mean, that's what I'm saying. They are in ultimate win Super Bowl this year mode.
Maybe Mahomes is the guy.
They're going to throw the book at Romo, the checkbook that is at Romo.
Yes.
And
I just think Mahomes behind Romo.
Well, I mean,
that's perfect.
That's
win now plus
realistically,
win for the future.
That would be a nice pick for them.
Win now plus win for the future.
But I'm saying the way they've operated this whole offseason,
Mahomes might be going higher than that anyway.
Won't happen. All right. Yeah, that's also probably true. 26, Forrest Lamp to the Seahawks. Makes too much sense. So, again, probably won't happen.
We love Lamp.
27, Christian McCaffrey to the Chiefs. First-round lock. 28, Jordan Willis to the Cowboys. Another first-round lock. 29...
I was thinking of your locks when I built this.
I can tell. I don't see...
Obi didn't make it, though.
Yeah, I was going to say I don't see Obi, but 29, this is the one I want to talk about. Sidney Jones, it's just I can't see him go in the first round anymore.
I probably can't.
He's going to miss
but I did it
1 year with an injury that's not really...
It's just a year, though.
It's not one that is going to look great.
It's just a year.
And Achilles, though, it can change you. It can change a man. I don't know. It's not like
I'm not saying
Jalen Smith. It's not like you worry about his career ever coming back. But losing a whole year of a guy is a lot to commit to him in the first round. As your first pick.
I get that. But can you imagine what's going to happen? You know what should happen here? The Browns should be grabbing Sidney Jones with one of their 17 second-round picks.
That'd be a lot of sense.
That's how you build a team. It's probably...
wait. You're kind of getting on it's like the 49ers of like 2013, 2014.
Yeah, get Marshawn Lattimore and all these injured guys.
And none of them panned out. So maybe don't do that, Browns. I don't know if you're listening.
Why? Because the 49ers were bad? Because they picked the bad players?
The injury concerns are real. Guys don't come back all the time from stuff like that. I'm just saying.
I think it's a worthwhile risk when you have 100 picks, though.
It is. All right, 30, Pittsburgh Steelers, Marlon Humphrey, cornerback, Alabama.
You like Humphrey?
Yeah, you know I'm a fan. 31, Malik McDowell, Michigan State to the Falcons. Oof, if they got him, that's just...
Was that your perfect fit video that we put on the site?
That's a perfect fit. That's unfair if they do get him, so I hope he doesn't last that long.
They need more D-line help, continue to build through there. I think McDowell's a good fit there.
Too much sense there. 32, New Orleans with another one. This was the Patriots pick on all the other mocks until this time.
The ever-dropping Cordrea Tankersley.
And Cordrea Tankersley, he's going to be in your third round when it's all said.
I don't want to drop him too much. I still think he's a very good player. Good size, didn't have a great combine, but I think his movement skills are pretty solid. I think they show up on tape. I think he could play multiple coverages. It's just how grabby he is that scares me.
Grabby. All right, that's Steve's mock. Go up, check it out on the website, profootballfocus.com. It's right there at the top. Mock 5.0.
It's a good mock.
Good mock.
Any additions you want me to make it 5.1?
Obi.
What if I take out
the first round lock? So
what if I put Obi in for Sidney Jones and make it 5.1?
They don't really need.
I don't care. Draft the best players, man.
Go
draft the best players.
Throw Obi to Dallas. They lost Barry Church.
They did.
All right. Segment time.
What do we have this week?
Scouting term of the week. Flipper.
The flipper.
Your favorite term.
I use this on Nick Kwiatkowski's scouting report. The linebacker, now for the Bears, formerly of West Virginia. He was so good. Were you going to describe the motion? What am I?
Oh, yes. So Steve's doing the motion. Steve's lifting his fist up and his elbow up into the face like you're kind of like a rip, but like hitting the elbow right into the chest.
Getting under offensive linemen, getting under them, making plays in the run game. That's what Kwiatkowski does. And I think I put in the scouting report, strong flipper.
Yes. I like it.
Is that a common term? I'm no scout. Is that
Bobby knew it.
Bobby knew. Bobby Slow. Bobby, 49ers quality control coach now. He knew the term. So flipper is this week's scouting term of the week.
And this one gets us right into our new scouting term of the week, which is a dolphin.
Dolphin.
Which is the one we're creating.
It's not this one that's written here? Dorsal fin? We eliminated
I didn't like that one as much. Dolphin is a guy. It's a linebacker with short arms.
But this is
with a good flipper.
So a linebacker,
dolphin backer.
It's the dolphin backer. That's how we positioned it. So that's a very specific term. So we have a linebacker with small arms.
Yes.
Strong flipper. Hashtag dolphin backer. Yes. That's what we're doing this week.
That's what we're doing this week.
Who's the best dolphin backer in the draft?
That's what we got to ask McShay.
Do you know? Have you been researching dolphin backers?
I haven't. I've been.
This has nothing to do with Miami, right? It's just it's a style.
Usually you call those guys T-Rex. It's the popular term to call a guy with short arms.
Right.
But dolphins, I mean, they got the flippers, and it makes too much sense for it not to be a term. So ask Mike Mayock, future GM of the Redskins,
who the best hashtag dolphin backer is in the draft. So just so you guys know, if you haven't been playing along, we've been creating new scouting terms every week, creating a hashtag out of it, and encouraging our millions and millions of listeners to go and speak to the scouting gurus, whether it be Daniel Jeremiah, Mike Mayock, Todd McShay. Ask them, use that scouting term in some sort of comment to them. Hashtag dolphin backer this week. One word, of course.
It's a good one. All right, risers and fallers, guys who we've seen rising and falling in our mind. We kind of touched on this.
We call this the recency bias.
Yeah, it's recency bias. It's good stuff. It's the way you should scout. Riser, Jordan Willis, blew up the combine. I don't know how I can take that out of my mind anymore.
He shouldn't be a riser, though. He was our top-graded edge defender last year. He should have just been sitting near the top of our board.
I know.
And our analysts, like Mike here,
balance.
Got a little nervous about him.
I like balance. So I will say the reps that got me fully on board with Jordan Willis in the Senior Bowl, the actual game, some of the ones he lines up as a wide 9 are very impressive because of what he can do in terms of getting ahead of steam at an offensive tackle and just winning, pressing the edge, making them get into bad positions because he has such amazing burst off the line of scrimmage. such good power throughout his frame. I'm on board. He doesn't have a great moveset yet. He goes to the same moves a lot. He likes the high swipe, especially when he's lined up on the left side. But get him a couple... If he can work some more stuff off of his bull rush, that's his most dangerous weapon, I think. And I think I'd call him a first-round lock at this point. I mean,
You've already called him a first-round lock. So Jordan Will is absolutely rising. Actually, just should have been a first-rounder the entire time. Who's your faller?
Wait, Steve, come on. What does Nick Saban say?
Oh, it's the evaluation at the end, right?
It's where you are at the end. It's not
where we are at the end. We're going to focus on the process. It's all part of the process.
Yes.
Give me your faller.
Tim Williams. I said this earlier. The fact that he had him above Carl Lawson was a crime. Tim Williams, I heard of a rumor from someone who would know, the know.
This is not very PFF of you.
Yeah, I know it's not. But this actually is probably the worst thing I can hear about a draft prospect in an evaluation. He smokes cigarettes walking around campus at Alabama.
Really?
I heard. That's what someone told me, which is the craziest thing imaginable. The fact that you are on the cusp of being a professional athlete at the largest football factory in America, have incredible physical gifts.
Nick Saban allows that?
And you choose to smoke cigarettes on a regular basis.
All right, that's a questionable. If the rumor's true, that's a questionable move. He might have to be dropping. And even beyond that,
love of the game.
Even beyond that, we've been hearing about bad off-field for him for quite a while, drug testing and various things.
Yeah.
I got a text message from someone in the know during the season who basically said, look, the off-field is so bad.
Name drop coming.
No name drop. No name drop.
In the know.
Someone in the know. Close to the situation.
Yeah.
He said the off-field's so bad, just wait. This guy's just not a good dude. So, sorry, Tim. Mike has you dropping down his hypothetical board in his head.
Drop him. All right, Steve, who are your risers and fallers?
So I was watching a lot of interior defensive linemen over the last couple of weeks. I really, really like Caleb Brantley from Florida. I think he's your classic up-the-field, penetrating three-tech. I think he could just do so much. Good hands. He didn't have the best combine either, but I don't care. His explosiveness off the ball is excellent. And the issue for Brantley, hasn't played more than 400 snaps in a season yet at Florida. But in his limited time, he's been outstanding from a production standpoint. Graded really well for us. You could see all of his stats at Draft Pass.
Ooh.
And then Elijah Qualls is my faller, another interior defensive lineman.
T-Rex.
And this is where film and the combine stuff, the measurables, absolutely match up. Because I'm watching the film and I'm just like, man, his arms look short. He is not a guy that's going to get into guys' pads and shed blocks. Every now and again he can do it at the college level. But his arms look short. He gets engulfed quite a bit. I go to our friends at Mock Draftable, check out the spider web, and he's got the first percentile, 1% of arm length, 30-something inch arms. So it was one of those things. It just shows
the only people who are like amputees.
It's rough for Qual. So I think he's a guy that can win with quickness off the ball. He moves really well for a 300-pound guy. So if he wins with quickness, if he wins right off the snap, he's okay. I have a problem with him winning late and maybe getting engulfed.
Swallowed.
Yeah, he'll get swallowed up at the point of attack. He can hold the point. I don't know if he's going to shed and make plays, though. So he's dropping. You just kind of hold. You just sit down and be 320 pounds. So that's my faller this week.
All right. That's risers and fallers. On to some old scouting reports. And we'll start off with a bad one, and one that we actually didn't even put a scouting report on a guy because that's how low he was on our board. Keanu Neal, the safety from Florida last year, who crushed it this past season with the Atlanta Falcons, was 176th on our final draft board.
It's higher than I thought we had him.
Which, 176, a little simple math, that's like a fifth round.
Well, look at the analysis on it. It's not bad.
Analysis, Keanu Neal's a downhill player looking to strike at any opportunity. He has a hitter big miss style, but can be a presence in the box and in underneath coverage, which...
Hey, wait.
Why did we have him at 176 then?
Well, because when you put guys in that box safety category, what's that really worth? Can you find box safeties in the third, fourth, or fifth round? In our world, finding Keanu Neal in the fifth round would have been fine because there's
we would have been ecstatic
there are box safeties available there. So it's a miss because he went in the first round. We called it a terrible pick. He ended up being an awesome player for the Falcons in year one. But his limitations were playing deep center field at Florida, a lot of missed tackles, and he cut down on some of those mistakes. I also think that the scheme, allows guys to play a simplified brand of football. And they absolutely played to his strengths, which we even said in the scouting report. You play him in underneath coverage, which he was good at, and you play him, let him be a big hitter. He had a bunch of forced fumbles. He was excellent this year. Still had some of those missed tackle issues, but not nearly as many as he did at Florida. So, yeah, it was a miss, but I think the analysis was the most important part on it.
I agree. All right. On to a guy who we hit on here. First round, we said take Landon Collins. He lasted till the second.
Also looked like a miss after year one.
And it looked like a miss after year one. A great example of why year one can be a wash sometimes for guys. Big transition. Landon Collins was awful. The busted coverage machine, his first season with the Giants, was this season, I'll say it, the best safety in the NFL. I thought he should have won Defensive Player of the Year. Do it all type of ability. Here's what we wrote about him. Collins' size and affinity for making plays coming forward have him well suited for that spot in an NFL defense. Coming forward, that sounds like Keanu Neal to some degree.
It does.
What he won't be, despite his outstanding ability to accelerate, is a rangy type that will excel in coverage. I don't know why we said that, because he does now.
Yeah, but it's not like he's not a pure center field type. He's a too-high safety that can make plays.
Collins boasts a 228-pound frame, which puts him significantly past the typical 210-pound range. What's most impressive about him in that regard is his ability to move the way he does in that body size. His acceleration is outstanding and a key component paired with his build.
Yeah, he was as fun as any safety to watch last year. Plays a lot of quarters where he can read the play, work downhill, and play in the run game and make plays on short passes in front of him. He's outstanding there. He played in the slot at Alabama. I think we finally started to see what Landon Collins is capable of last season. So
should have taken the first round someone. Yeah,
that was a hit.
That's I think he'd go top 10 redraft at this point. Fantastic pick by the Giants there. All right, on to last segment of the day, handicapping the draft. If you're keeping track at home, Steve's bet $100 on Mitch Trubisky coming off the board, $50 on Dalvin Cook being the first running back off the board, $100 that a kicker will go in day two, which
at plus 300.
I'll just collect right now.
At plus 300.
$50 on O.J. Howard being the first tight end off the board, and now we're going to put him on the spot and give me the first offensive lineman to come off the board. I'll give you plus 300 on all these guys. Forrest Lamp, Garrett Bowles, Cam Robinson, Ryan Ramczyk, plus 300 on all of them. I'm giving you favorable odds there with 4 selections. Oh, I really don't know at this point who will be. All those guys have a shot from what I've seen mocks with all those. I think Lamp, maybe not, but truthfully, he's probably the biggest lock to be good in the NFL of all those guys, but he's probably a guard for most teams.
Because he's a guard. The other 3 are going to play tackle. So I'm between Robinson, Bowles, and Ramczyk. So my reasoning here, I don't know. On one hand, Ramczyk's our top-graded offensive tackle.
Yes.
So on one hand, I could say, I'm going to trust our evaluations, hope that the NFL sees it the same. It's going to be him. On the other hand, you have Garrett Bowles.
Blew up the combine.
Blew up the combine, but also blew up the interview process of the combine when he was talking about destroying people and ripping their head off and all this stuff.
He was just O-line coach porn.
Oh, my God. Nothing appeals to the O-line community than you raving about how you love to finish a guy and bury him and all that stuff that probably doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things.
It doesn't, but yeah.
And then there's Cam Robinson, who, if you're just chiseling a left tackle, looks a lot like one, has the look, hasn't played like one yet, could easily see the NFL following in love.
That's what I'm saying.
Cam.
Like, I think legitimately all these guys have a chance. Like I said, not really Lamp, but if I really need a tackle or a guard, I'm pretty sure I'd draft Lamp before those tackles because Lamp's more of a sure thing to me, but
love Forrest Lamp. I think he's going to be great. I don't think he'll be the first one off the board.
Yeah.
I'm going to invest only $50 on this plus 300.
Gotcha.
And say, because
you don't have to bet every time, Steve. You don't have to.
Oh, I can skip?
You can skip if you want.
I thought you were making me play.
I mean, you can put like $5.
No, I'm going big.
Put 0.
No, 50.
Okay.
It's all fake money. It's all monopoly money. $50 on Cam Robinson. I'm going to say that the NFL gets suckered in by Cam Robinson, that he'll be the first one off the board.
All right.
It should be Ramczyk.
There you have it. I agree. I think Ramczyk's the better of those. And he's so raw still. 2 years of college play, the major college play, with the way he moves. He just moves better.
Moves so well. Makes every block you want in the run game. Smooth pass protector. Is that it? That is it for
today. DraftPod 5.0 in the books here. Make sure to check out Draft Pass 1.0, which is now live on the site. A lot of cool stuff in there.
You get the site plus the PDF. So you have a downloadable PDF, and every time we update it, you'll get an update. You can download a new one. Work it offline.
It's worth way more than $20, I'll say. $20 on the website right now. Go check it out.
Well, did you see who bought one last night? You can't drop names, but an NFL general manager.
One of the guys who you guys should be tweeting at.
Well, that's a different. You're talking about a different name.
Oh, who's your name?
An NFL general manager.
Oh, okay.
Bought it. Ooh. If it's good enough for NFL GMs, I know it's good enough for our millions and millions of fans.
There you go.
So I think it's well worth it. At least go to profootballfocus.com/draftpass17 and just see what you get out of it. There's a lot of good stuff on there.
A lot of good stuff. That's it for us this week, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll be back again next week. Hopefully, if we record this time. You guys have a good one.